The Indy cars are rolling on that very, very long straightaway, so let's take a look at how they line up here today. On the pole is Alex ZANARDI, the first pole in his second start, the 145th driver to win a pole in IndyCar history. Outside his teammate Jimmy Vasser started third and won at Miami. In the second row, Andre Ribeiro, the Loudon winner last year, and Greg Moore, the spectacular Canadian rookie. In the third row, Parker Johnstone, back after that injury in practice at Miami, and Bobby Rahal, a three-time IndyCar champion. Row number 4, Gilles de Perrin, the winner last year at Laguna Seca, finished second at Miami, and Adrian Fernandez. In row 5, Mauricio Gugelmin and Scott Pruitt. In the 6th row, Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. In row number 7, Emerson Fittipaldi, who sees an 11-year dream come true with the running of an IndyCar race here in his homeland, and Roberto Moreno. In the 8th row, Michael Andretti and Brian Herta. Row 9, Carlos Guerrero and Mark Blundell. Row 10, Eddie Lawson and Hiro Matsushita. The 11th row, Stefan Johansson and rookie Jeff KROSNOFF. Row 12, Marco Greco and Juan Fangio. In the 13th row, Paul Tracy, who starts in the back because he pulled off on his qualifying run. And also joining the field without times, Raul Boisel and Christian Fittipaldi, as Gary Gerald told you about his situation, very sore as he'll run down toward the green flag. So single file for the moment. And there's so much ahead. Let's take a look at what this track looks like here. 1.864 miles around, an oval, a very unusual D-shaped oval. The passing zones on this track denoted in Irish green there, going into 4 and through 1. And so that makes the real danger zones, the trouble areas, coming out of 4. And we've had a number of spins. Fortunately, not that many contacts with the wall. The day's stories, well, you've heard many of them. We'll take a look at them one more time. Certainly the Honda Power, because they are dominant at the front of the field. Firestone tires also seem to be contributing to how well they do here today. How rough the track is, the hot temperature and temperature tantrums. And then watch your back, because remember, there are guys like Fittipaldi, Boisel, and Paul Tracy all the way at the back of the field. Current standings in the points, well, Jimmy Vasser, of course, the winner of the first race of the year, is out in front. There's the PPG points as they are right now. So we're ready to race for the very first time the Indy cars in Brazil. Moving into formation now. We're set to go green. There's the final turn. Turn 4 onto the very, very long front stretch. Nice alignment on the front of the field. ZANARDI to the inside, Vasser to the out. Teammates will bring them toward the green flag. And here we go. And ZANARDI jumps way out in front as everybody spreads out. de Perrin down low. So is Ribeiro. Ribeiro comes into second place around Vasser. Safely through turn 1 onto the backstretch. ZANARDI, Ribeiro, Vasser, Greg Moore. The rest of the field follows through. Now really, it's a turn, but the race car doesn't see it. This is actually the third turn, but the first time they really slow at all. You notice that Christian Fittipaldi stayed at the back on that start, feeling his way very carefully. And here comes ZANARDI down the front stretch. And ZANARDI leads his first lap in his IndyCar career.
And Scott Pruitt made a great move from the back. I mean, he passed about 4 cars around the outside of turn 1 on that opening lap. He's really moved up.
You saw de Perrin move down as well. At the front, they're strung out. Begins to shape up as a fight back about 6th place.
You know, Jimmy
he
can't be very pleased with that start because he went from 2nd to 3rd, lost a lot of ground to his teammate.
Well, you've got to ask yourself, with a team in the front row like that, like Ganassi's team is, are you going to see team orders? And he says, absolutely not. There's the move by Fernandez. He battles alongside of Scott Pruitt and gets around him, and there goes Parker too.
You know, something I saw there very similar to Homestead. Scott got high coming off through turn 4, and he lost ground, and those other two guys got to run on him. I think we're going to see that all day long. They lose any ground, they get a little push, get a little loose, they're going to be slow down the straightaway. Somebody's going to pass them.
We'll put the laps to go and the positions on the bottom of the screen this race as we continue to try and update you thoroughly. Keeping an eye now on the battle back a bit. Pruitt, Fernandez, there's the front of the field again.
You notice that Scott Pruitt's definitely got a little bit of a problem there. He's high coming off that corner. He can't hold these guys. He's very quick down the straightaway, but he can't hold them.
Parker Johnstone moves to the inside. Honda power. And there's one of the stories that we'll be watching all day. The Honda is obviously very, very fast at the end of the straightaway, up about 210 miles an hour before they start a heavy braking and downshifting maneuver into turn one. You can also see the roughness of the track here. One car off the side, yellow is out. So yellow flag flies first time today.
That appears to be, looks like it's the Gurney car and the Fangio's car. Looks like he stopped out there, and of course on an oval, they can't take a chance. They got to pull it. They got to throw a yellow. They got to get them slowed down, so they throw it all the way around.
Exactly who it is. Juan Fangio driving for Dan Gurney and All-American Racers. Toyota power there. They've got a lot of work to do this year, but they're worthy of that task. So 3 laps complete, 133 the distance, 248 miles. ZANARDI leads from the pole. We'll be back. We're back in Brazil for the Rio 400, getting ready to go green. But first, let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, you were talking about Scott Pruitt and how he seemed to be slowing down a bit. Well, he's handling an ill-handling car right now. They expected a little bit of understeer with the setup they put in the car, but the Firestone team for Pat Patrick and company say they've got maybe just a little bit too much understeer. And at this track, Danny Sullivan, understeer is not what you want, at least not too much of it.
That's right, especially coming off of turn 4, leading on that long straightaway. If you've got understeer, which to the viewers at home means that the front end's not working, you can't get any grip, you got to wait on that throttle, you can't put the power down, you're going to be slow coming on that straightaway.
Nice return to green as we're back racing again. ZANARDI, Ribeiro, Vassar, Johnstone trying to move up, swings to the inside, while at the front Ribeiro moves far to the outside. Challenge for the lead. In through turn 1, off at turn 1. Look at Ribeiro way up by that wall.
Well, that could be that he's just letting the car have its head. Just don't scrub those tires down. Just let it go a little bit, and it'll be a little quicker. Look how much faster he is down that straightaway. He's all over ZANARDI.
And there goes Ribeiro. Whoa, what a good pass.
Around the outside, and listen to this crowd in the front. They love their Brazilians, don't they?
The crowd goes nuts as Ribeiro takes the lead, but here comes ZANARDI back to challenge. He ducks in behind him as he comes across the line, down through the gears, heavy on the brakes into turn 1.
And he's got him. He's going back at it. And look at Greg Moore. He's trying to get around Vassar.
Oh, look at the other battle. Greg Moore to the outside of Vassar. Moore to third for the moment, but maybe only for the moment.
Great racing here.
You know, I would have thought they would have taken it a little bit easy here in the early going until they found out about it. Apparently 3 laps, they knew everything they needed.
That's right. Look at Greg Moore moving up. He's moving right up. He's going to go, oh, and look at that, coming off the corner.
Greg Moore tries to make his move now. Moves inside of Ribeiro.
But did you see Ribeiro's back end jump out coming off? We're going to see this all day long. Look how the field's all backed up behind him, and Moore's found the line.
Look at that.
Right around the outside.
Outside pass around Ribeiro. Moore to second behind ZANARDI.
You know, I talked to Moore before, after the warm-up this morning. These guys are very confident. Their car feels great. He says he's got no problems. The car's handling fabulously. He's pumped up.
Well, when you look at some of these shots, though, watch the rear wing. It'll give you a good idea of how much the cars are bouncing over the surface here. See Moore hop around there? He builds up to over 200 miles an hour down the front stretch.
You can see the car really darting around. See it under braking there?
DeFerrin working at the back of Vassar. Battle for fourth there.
This is great racing. I mean, look how they're all bunched up. Everybody's just in a line. Everybody trying to find a way around the car in front of them.
There gives you a good idea of the surface and how the cars handle it. Reminds me a lot of Milwaukee. Flat, Got a lot of texture to the surface. Really have to be on top of the race car.
And also something the viewers are seeing right there is you've got, as you mentioned, a D-shaped track. But turns 2 and 3 aren't a factor. Those things are flat out. They can go 3 abreast through there.
DeFerrin challenges Vassar for 4th, while you see them serpentine behind. DeFerrin down to the inside. And he gets around Vassar to the cheer of the crowd.
One thing you can sit up here in this booth and know is when a Brazilian makes a pass, if he's got it, the crowd lets you know.
Watching behind this battle as well, you see how everybody tries to use the draft. The draft is really available here.
Well, it makes a big factor on this long straightaway, and for the first time in an Indy car.
One car with an engine going, it looked like, and no, against the wall.
That looks like Mark Blundell. Oh, he looks like he's okay, but he's moving in the car.
Mark Blundell, a stream of smoke. I don't know if it was because the engine went or because he was already losing it. Hard against the wall, but he climbs out immediately, and of course the yellow comes out. So we're in our second yellow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, his motor was definitely going. Somebody was very lucky there. That looked almost. Oh.
Oh, that's a lucky impact.
That's a lucky impact for him to walk away. And I'll tell you who else was lucky. Was it looked like his teammate.
Well, maybe not so lucky. Let's hope he's okay. He's down on the ground. And that's of course, the IndyCar safety team. Dr. Steve Alvey was the man over him. Look at him pass right behind his teammate. Tucks his nose under his wing. Not a good angle to hit the wall. Car does what it's supposed to, though. That disintegration is good. That's energy leaving the car. So as the car hugs the wall, this is at regular speed. Watch that car. Boy, oh boy,
I'm telling you, I'm sitting up here and having been in that position before. That really hurts. That really hurts.
Be very careful about Mark Blundell's condition now. He climbed out of the car under his own power, but seemed to collapse by the edge of the track. Safety crews keeping him there. You notice how they position the vehicle, too, to protect the work they're doing from any of the other cars should anything else happen.
He's definitely got a problem there. Something definitely goes wrong. It might have been that smoke we saw coming out of the back of the car, but he didn't even slow down. That's unbelievable impact he took there.
So back under yellow, full caution, 12 laps complete. ZANARDI was challenged for a moment, but is back in the lead again. We'll be back. We are back in Rio for the INDYCAR Rio 400, still under the second yellow of the day. Coming up next, 3 Olympic skating stars share their stories beyond the ice as Nike presents A Passion to Play with Dorothy Hamill, Christy Yamaguchi, and Nancy Kerrigan. That's next here on ABC Sports. Now this yellow, of course, is for the single car accident off of turn 4 of Mark Blundell. The only report we have right now is that he does not have life-threatening injuries, and we will update that after a very hard impact just as soon as we have more information. But let's go down to the pits in Jakarta.
Well, Paul, there's been some mental activity. There's been some physical activity on pit road. Emerson Fittipaldi came in with his Hogan Penske car and changed this. They call it a wicker bill. It changes the edge on the rear wing, and it can severely change the handling of the race car. Paul Tracy, as we said, is complaining of a push condition with his car, but his team is saying try to stay out and extend the window before the pit stop to lap 26. Meanwhile, the radio playback for Derek Walker and the Valvoline team and Robbie Gordon is come into the pits now, take on fuel, and maybe we can do a fuel and go in that third and final stop. I talk about mental activity. Everybody's trying to figure out a way right now to try and come on away to be able to make this in just 2 stops. But Robbie Gordon on pit road, as you see, has elected at least to take advantage of this yellow and make it at 3 stops. Let's check in with Gary.
Jack, you mentioned handling characteristics. That's the magic number that everybody wants to get the handle on the race car, and it's tough here because it's a bumpy surface, and this will tell you how. This is a computer trace off one of the cars from a practice session. We're talking about rebound of the shocks here. Normally on an oval, you'll see a fairly smooth, consistent line, but look at all of these spikes. That's the way the car is trying to dance away from a driver's control. He's got his hands full all the time on this racing surface. If they can find a way to get it smooth, they have a big advantage.
Ready to go back to green. As they come for the fourth and final turn, ZANARDI will lead them. Second is Greg Moore, Ribeiro, DeFerrin, Jimmy Vasser. Off at turn 4, long straightaway just ahead. Green already flies.
I think ZANARDI kind of caught everybody sleeping over there. He really sped up going into 4.
Well, for only a second oval run, I'll tell you what, he's got it figured out. Look at this as Fernandez comes around Rahal. So Fernandez around Rahal for 6th place. Brief ride on the nose with Rahal there. He's being challenged now by Parker Johnstone, and Scott Pruitt's right there too.
Looks like Scott might have made a change during that pit stop. He's getting a little bit more aggressive.
A couple of the cars came in, decided to make some adjustments. We're on lap 23 now. 16 of the laps run under yellow here in the opening stages of what is a 400-kilometer run. Look at that, everybody looking to pick up on the draft. Allenzer Jr., the only one that steps out. That's Michael Andretti right behind Little Al in the black car.
You know, what's interesting was during practice, everybody talked about the speed of the Honda, but what we're seeing here in the race is that nobody seems to really be pulling that much away on the straightaway. They seem to be pretty equal.
Just right here with Michael Andretti. Watch his helmet. Give you an idea of how rough it can be as he moves alongside Little Al, tries to poke his nose down there.
Well, he wanted to take a look at it and let Little Al know he was there, but you know, it's early in the race. He doesn't want to make any mistakes, but he's getting a pretty good ride. When you see his head moving around that mark, here he goes again. He's going to make the pass down into 1. Looks like he's got enough. They're going to go in. Little Al's tough. He doesn't want to give up that spot. But at the moment, that outside groove is still not quite enough.
That's down 3 gears for almost everybody as they head into 1 and then back up to top gear.
You know, that's an interesting point because we're talking about how unusual this is as an oval. Most ovals we race on, you put it in top gear and you left foot brake when you come there and stand back on the gas. But here, it's more like a road circuit in that respect. You come, stand on the brakes, go down 3, some of them 4 gears, and then accelerate back up.
Pruitt was set up looking at Rahal. Nothing changes at the front. ZANARDI with a slim lead.
Boy, you can really see those cars bouncing around on that back straightaway. See when they're jumping like that, and see the front end of the car moving. That is very, very tough on the driver.
Here's some good news. Mark Blundell never lost consciousness. He was complaining of pain in his right knee and ankle. You can understand that. That's the side of the car that got into the wall the hardest. They're going to x-ray him right here at the track. They right now don't intend an air transport out to a hospital, interestingly enough, that is about 1 minute by helicopter away.
You know, I talked to Dr. Steve Olvey, and they've got some fabulous facilities right
Michael
here.
Andretti with the fastest lap of the day you saw.
He's moving up through that field, and Little Al's trying to hold on to him.
You were saying about Dr. Trammell.
They say they've got some great facilities right here on the grounds. They can do almost just about any kind of surgery they need to. They've got a fabulous hospital just a minute away. And if they really need to do something very, very serious, they've got a plane standing back to take them to the best hospital in Brazil over in Sao Paulo, which is 45 minutes away.
One of the interesting things about that proximity of the hospital, of course, Scott Goodyear is over in that hospital, but the team gave him a team radio, and it's close enough he can hear what's going on.
Yeah, and I talked to Scott earlier, and he said he just wanted to tell everybody he'd be back. He was sore, but he felt okay, and they're flying down a brace for him. And he really wanted to be over here today, but they didn't want to move him until he had that brace on.
This is the battle for fifth. Johnstone trying to overhaul Fernandez. Fight for sixth, that Team Tasman and two Hondas. Fernandez making his deal as teammate of Andre Ribeiro just before the season gets underway. Been kind of fun to watch that team as we look at the split between Fernandez and Johnstone. Johnstone's obviously a bit faster that lap, but being faster and getting by, two different things. Look at the lineup behind. Michael Andretti has finally managed to get clear of Scott Pruitt. Al Unser Jr. is now making his move on Pruitt. Mercedes power in Al Unser Jr.'s car as he moves now into 11.
Very clean pass there, very good racing, but very clean. There's a good shot of how much they're moving around. I tell you, Michael is really flying at the moment. He's picking up the pace, and he looks like he's closing in on Rahal at the moment.
Laps now complete. Continuing to watch. Now moving back to Mauricio Gugelmin and Eddie Lawson. Television feed here coming from Brazil Television. Now we go on board with Robbie Gordon, who runs in 19th place, and again his teammate Scott Goodyear can hear the radio transmissions between Gordon and his pits from his hospital room a couple of miles away.
But look how much his head's moving around. You see him bouncing, see that contact he's making with the side of the car there, and look at his arm trying to fight control of that. Almost slid up there toward the wall. He's having a rough ride this afternoon.
Exactly what you said right at starting. By the way, to correct myself there, behind Gugelmin, that was Brian Herta, not Eddie Lawson. Still early in the season for some of us. Back watching the front of the field now. Zanardi, Greg Moore. Front of the order, Zanardi, Moore, Ribeiro, DeFerrin, Jimmy Vasser, the top five. Let's go pit side. Jack Arute, report on Robbie Gordon.
And it may say the most about how tough this track is. Robbie Gordon been talking back and forth to Derek Walker on the radio, and Scott Goodyear, as you said, can hear it in the hospital. But this is what Robbie finally said when they went back to green. Guys, this is a tough racetrack, and it's going to be a long day.
100 laps to go as now the lead of the race begins to encounter traffic ahead. Remember the first race at Miami? Further report on Mark Blundell. He's awake, laughing, and he said that his brakes went. Now, that's a question. Total loss of brakes is what he was reporting. We were concerned about that. Look like it's a problem or single car. It seems like something I'd worry about this early on.
Well, you would, but sometimes, as we saw in that shot, he actually did lock up the brakes. So what we probably saw, that from that bouncing, you can actually push the pads away from the rotor. And when that happens, your first touch of the pedal goes all the way to the floor. And it makes you feel like you've got no brakes, which you don't for that millisecond that it happens. Then you pump them back up. That's probably when we saw the lockup. But by that time, he was too far into the corner and committed.
Further update, Gary Gerald.
Well, just bearing that out, we got a quick word with the crew that is on contact with Brian Herta. Herta was right behind Blundell when that incident happened. Herta told his crew that he thought that the right front brakes locked up. That's what he saw. That might further support the fact that there was a severe brake problem.
Fight for the lead here. As Zanardi gets caught up on the slower traffic, that's Marco Greco as they split around but still ZANARDI with a better line into the corner. Watch how Moore tends to come off of this corner, though. He lets the car come all the way up. Look at that.
To my way of thinking, that's a better line. You don't scrub as much off the tires. You don't use them up as much. And you let the car have its head. Just let it be free. Let it go.
So ZANARDI, Greg Moore, they've continued to battle at about this distance for the last several laps. No traffic sitting just ahead.
And you know what's great? We got two rookies out there. Two guys, this is their second IndyCar race, and they're doing a fabulous job. They're racing. They're doing a good, clean job. They're picking their way through traffic, and they're stretching their legs on the field.
DeFerrin tries to move on Ribeiro. Battle for third. Again, two Honda Power cars.
Whoa,
it looks like Ribeiro
slowed. You know what I think happened? He must have missed a gear. He slowed way too fast there.
And he's right back at full chat right behind him. Boy, just a slight mistake can make a world of difference. Ribeiro wants that position back, though. Again, two Brazilians battle here, and the crowd loves it. Well, whatever it was, it seems like it. I think you're probably right, Danny. Just a missed gear coming off of the first turn there. There's the order after 37 laps with two rookies out in front. We're back at the Rio 400. Nothing's changed, but it looks like it may be about to. ZANARDI under heavy challenge by Greg Moore. The blue and white 99 of Moore right there, tucked right in turn one. Moore comes a little to the inside now. Lets him know he's there. Turn three. Heading down into turn four.
Just observe my observation. It just looks like Moore's car, as he lightens his fuel load, is just coming a little bit more alive. It just looks like he's got a little bit more. You saw that speed. He's 1 mile an hour faster. Can't quite figure a way to get around him, but he looks like he's going to make a go of it any moment.
Comparison of power again. That car right there, Greg Moore, that's Mercedes power. The car in front is Honda power. Oh, another car. Looks like Fernandez against the wall. So we're yellow again. Hard to tell what got him backwards and up against the wall. So ideal time for the pit stops. And there's Fernandez up against the wall and obviously okay right at the observer's stand. They got back there pretty quick. Guarantee you they weren't there when he got there. Here it is, Danny.
Looks like he just lost it under braking. Just slides around. Boom, just a little touch at the nose. Not bad, but it looks like he lost it under braking.
Let's go to Gary.
Alex ZANARDI, remember, with virtually no oval track experience, unfamiliar with pit stops, but this looks very smooth. He's rolling. We've got him in 12.4 seconds. Terrific stop under yellow for the rookie ZANARDI.
And out ahead of Greg Moore. Remember at Miami, under yellow on his pit stop, a wheel came off as they came out of the pits. Crowd's loving this. You ought to hear them roar. They haven't seen this before, an IndyCar pit stop. Jackaroot.
Well, Scott Pruitt is the last in the middle of the Packers to come in on pit road. He took 1.5 turns on the left front wing, but very close action during that exchange for Andre Ribeiro. Ribeiro's stop was just about completed. Pruitt in the pit box, 2 ahead of Ribeiro, initiated his turn in, and it almost took the front wing off of Andre Ribeiro. He was on the brakes quickly, though. No harm, no foul.
And you saw this guy, Brian Herta, slid past the pit. Gary?
Oh, that was a major concern for many of the teams because you can notice the contrast in surfaces. It's cement on the actual place where they stop and hit their marks. It's asphalt outside. Brian Herta came sliding through here, missed his mark, rolled him back, stalled the engine, and now the frustration factor has really escalated. It roars to life. He'll light it up, and look at the concrete dust as he spins away back out onto the asphalt.
Fortunately,
well, Gary,
right at the end of the speed zone of 60 miles an hour.
Well, Gary, that's right, but you know what? They've been running on that for 3 days. You got to know, they've got to know what's going on. The interesting part is I talked to Mo Nunn and ZANARDI's team, and he said they were really concerned because when he was leading a race and now making a pit stop under that kind of pressure, he made a great stop. The pressure's obviously not getting to him. That was a 12-second stop.
Herta went into the pits in 6th, came out in 19th, so it hurt him big time. So now lined up behind the pace car, ZANARDI wins the pit battle. The report that Adrian Fernandez is okay. Of course, I think we saw that when we saw the shot in the cockpit. And try this on for size. They're trying to get him bump started, is the report we have, and let him drive on down into the pits himself. So on board with Christian Fittipaldi, who is trying to move up through the field and has made it up to 14th. We'll be right back. And what they were able to do was push Adrian Fernandez's car away from the wall, and he's going to continue on, Gary.
Well, we understand that's the case, Paul, and I think Jack Arute was reporting on our intercommunications link that he's going to be going without a nose cone. Here's something that you rarely see on these cars on an oval. Here's the inside front wheel on a backup car. You see this scoop down in here. It's designed to pull air in to help cool the brakes. You were talking about how tough this circuit is on brakes. Well, here's one of the things that you have to do to try to aid those brakes, to try to keep them cool as best you can. You don't often see this on an oval, sometimes on some of the short ovals. I think Danny could probably speak to that much better. Danny?
Yeah, you don't see them a lot, but anytime you have hard braking like a Milwaukee and somewhat even Phoenix. Whoa, look at this. Greg Moore making an attempt there on the restart. He's hooked up. But Gary, back to you on that. The scoops are very important to keep the brakes cool. They need that when they go down that long straightaway. They cool them down, and they also keep the wheel bearings cooled down.
Robbie Gordon, remember, he stopped out of the cycle and sits in 3rd place as a result of that. As he searches for racing room, gets us alongside Eddie Lawson. Danny talked at the start about how the tactics would have to play, and Derek Walker brought Robbie in when he saw an advantage and a tactical advantage.
And now we see he's up into 3rd spot. And some of the other guys, Michael Andretti picked up a couple of spots.
Whoa, look at DeFerrin. DeFerrin comes inside there. The back end washes for a second. And he gets by cleanly. Let's go to Jack Arute.
For a second.
Jack Arute?
Well, Paul, there's some problems on Adrian Fernandez's car. Originally, they were going to try and replace the front wings. But what actually happened is the entire nose section was peeled away, so you couldn't insert the wing in the standard way. Now Steve Horn is with us, and Steve, now are you going to try and put the wing back on, or are you going to try and jury rig it? He's got a new nose cone, Steve does. He's going to hand it over the wall. This is going to be a long process, guys, because this is the part of the nose cone that usually you don't have to replace before you put the wing on.
Right, Adrian spun and hit the wall quite hard, which took the whole front nose assembly off. That's a pretty long job to change, which they're changing right now.
What about the condition for Andre Ribeiro's car? He's running so well right now. Has he said anything to you?
No, I'm only dealing with Adrian, so it looks like Andre's going pretty well, though.
Good smile on his face, guys.
Well, everything that Danny suggested at starting, right there. Robbie Gordon's brought in by Derek Walker. The way they deal with this particular car. Al Unser Jr., you can see there, has made his way around Michael Andretti. During those stops, though, the big losers were Mauricio Gugelmin, or excuse me, Parker Johnstone, who lost 10 stops, and the big winner was Mauricio, who picked up 3 positions on the pit stops.
I tell you, especially in a race like this where everybody is so close together and so bunched up like this, the pit stop, just think what a couple of tenths of a second is. 1 second at 100 miles an hour is the distance of a football field. So imagine what amount of ground you got to make up or lose on that pit stop.
A couple of violations issued as a result of penalties as they came back to the green flag. Roberto Moreno had a pit speed 60-mile-an-hour speed limit violation, and they have an indication that Carlos Guerrero ran over the air hose. They were going to give him a violation. So 3 black flags. Marco Greco being the 3rd one. And Fernandez back on the track finally and into the fight. There's Ribeiro lined up on Gordon. Battle for 3rd. 4, now comes Jeff KROSNOFF out of the race. Mechanical difficulty in the engine compartment.
That wasn't exactly a great day for Toyota, because they had the first retirement, of course, with Juan Fangio. But that's a development program, and those guys are working at it, and they're enthusiastic. They're going to get it sorted.
You ever been in one of those programs? I mean, like, how tough can it be on a driver knowing that he's going into a race in which really it's mostly research?
Well, I've been there, of course, with the original Ilmor and with the Alfa Romeo. And, you know, you're hoping that they get it right because you're the only guy that's got it. And if it is right, you've got a good chance to blow everybody off. But if it isn't right, you're struggling, which unfortunately in most engine development programs, that's the case at the beginning.
Robbie Gordon moves through traffic. Andrew Ribeiro sticks right with him. DeFerrin gets caught up by the slower car now. But DeFerrin is now clear. 4th, 5th, and 6th all together. Michael Andretti just behind Al Unser Jr. there. And we're looking for Paul Tracy. There he is. Black number 3. Al Unser Jr. Red number 2. Black number 3 on Paul Tracy's car. And there's Christian Fittipaldi as well, right behind him. 14th and 15th position. Let's come back up now. Join DeFerrin. DeFerrin's been in pursuit from 5th position of Ribeiro and Gordon for the last few laps. ZANARDI continues to lead, 51 complete. We're now under yellow. Emerson Fittipaldi slowed suddenly. Both of the leaders have headed into the pits. There is ZANARDI. Gary Gerald?
First stop was flawless. Boy, so was this one. It was 10 and a fraction seconds. ZANARDI got lightning service. Of course, they didn't take on a full load of fuel.
And he did get out ahead of Greg Moore as everybody played it smart, followed the leader in.
Yeah, all the fast guys, everybody came in. They're all trying to get that fuel window right for a run at the end of the deal. But ZANARDI made another great stop.
Let's go to Jack.
Well, Danny Sullivan, don't count Robbie Gordon out of this. You know, his mentor, Derrick Walker, is really calling a good race right now. He came in, not only took on a full load of fuel, changed all 4 tires. They continue to talk the strategy out. But one of the things that's interesting about strategy, guys, is nowadays you don't not only do it with a paper and pencil. There are literally software that has been written to read out the scenarios as a race goes on. One of the laptop computers in each of the pits, one man enters the data as we go along, and it changes the scenario lap by lap. Tells you what might happen.
Hey, Jack, you don't have to tell me about Derrick Walker. He was a guy that called my shots for many years at Penske. He's one of the best, and with all those laptops, all the computers, software, everything else, he still does it from the seat of his pants.
I think he's got a computer in his brain, too, and that may be the fastest and most efficient one. Robbie's struggling with something here, trying to get what?
It looks like his pads come loose there or something, and he's trying to get it back into position. Let me tell you, from sitting in the cockpit, all you got to have is a little piece a little bit out. It's the most irritating thing because it just throws you off just that little bit. So he's trying to do it under a yellow.
Yeah, head for a hammer. Robbie Gordon. Now, 2 cars being reported out, Stefan Johansson and Hiro Matsushita. So, Robbie Gordon still trying to move and get that headrest back into position. One of the cars out we mentioned a little while ago, Jeff KROSNOFF out of the race as Gordon still tries to get it in place. Right now he's with Jack.
Motor problem, but how difficult is it for a young driver to do research and development in race conditions?
It's frustrating. I mean, you know, as a racer, you see these guys in front of you, you want to pass them, you see them coming up behind you, you don't want to let them by. But unfortunately, we're just not at that stage yet. We're having more teething problems, and it's tough, but we'll get there.
What about the race conditions today? We see on board a lot of the cameras showing the drivers are really getting beaten around.
It's quite bumpy up there, and you know, especially off the line. I don't think it's a problem. It's not very hot in the car. When you come into a pit stop and you sit for a minute, then the heat kind of just boils up. Out there, it's not a problem, and it's a pretty good race course to race, you know, for dicing. So
Paul?
All right, the reason for this yellow is Emerson Fittipaldi slowed on the course, but he's right back in the lineup, so not a terminal problem. Gary Gerald?
Well, here's Stefan Johansson, who just climbed out of his car, and you end up being a victim of somebody else's problems. Tell us what happened.
Well, something penetrated the radiator, and we obviously lost all the water, and the engine started overheating, so we had to call it a day.
How tough has it been out here, considering the heat and also the roughness of the circuit and the workout you get in the cockpit?
It's not too bad. I've been to worse places.
Were you at all close to Mark Blundell in that early incident?
No, I didn't see what happened. I mean, I saw it just as the accident had stopped, more or less, but I didn't see what happened, no.
Okay, Stefan, thank you. Shirley Bentonhausen down here alongside. She's got the comfort zone. You need a little spritzer here. Here's the latest way to cool down in this day. Oh, my. The best of creature comforts here. One for Stefan. You don't mind if I take a couple myself?
Back to green flag racing. And you can see the leaders have to come through traffic, but Al Unser Jr. challenging on Robbie Gordon. Michael Andretti moved up to 6th, Gordon to 7th, Junior is 8th. What Gary was talking about there, they have a little handheld fan, battery-powered fan with a squirt bottle on it, so they can squirt water into the fan, spray your face, cool right down. Sounds like something would sell good here today. With the stops, there's the new leader of the race, STEFAN, followed by Ribeiro. Then Vassar, then ZANARDI, then Greg Moore. Difference, of course, there is STEFAN, Ribeiro, and Vassar did not stop when the yellow came out for Emerson Fittipaldi.
Remember when we talked at the top of the show, this is going to come down to strategy, and if these guys get it right, you can pick up some spots. You can even end up in the lead. They might get a yellow shortly and fit in their window, and boom, they're right there at the winner's circle.
Also very tactical. Another car out, Mauricio Gugelmin, Jack.
Yeah, one Brazilian leads, one Brazilian watches. Mauricio, we know you're out of the race, but what about brakes on this facility? What's the situation with brakes?
Well, it's a tough place for brakes. And basically, I had a problem with the left rear hub, which broke, which we think is the same thing what happened with Mark Blundell. I got away with it, he didn't. So it was a tough day for us.
Well, a tough day, and it's a hot day to have to sit here and watch, guys, but at least he's got just a little bit of shade.
Again, there seems to be good news on Mark Blundell. They were going to x-ray him here at the hospital at the track, complaining of pain, right knee, right ankle. We haven't heard the result of those x-rays yet, but of course it's still very early to hear such a thing. But Gil DeFerrin, the winner at the final race of the season last year, leads it. Al Unser Jr. now setting up on Michael Andretti, battle for 6th. You know, it's so funny to me, Danny. You race drivers, you come to a track, everybody comes here and says, whoa, this looks like it's going to be real hard. I'm not sure. And then flag drops, see some great racing.
Well, you do. I think the biggest thing is, of course, you know it's going to be tough. You know it's going to be physical. It's going to be hot, but your adrenaline gets going. We're seeing great racing out here. Everybody's bunched together. They can't be bothered with worrying about the heat and the bumps. They just got to do it. And we're seeing these guys are swapping places, moving back and forth. Look at little Al and Michael going at it again. They've done this 2 or 3 times.
Two guys have raced with one another all their racing career in the Indy cars. And Al Unser Jr. grabs the position and moves into 6th around Michael.
One of the things, Paul, that I talked to these guys about up and down the pit lane is they're all thinking championship, as we mentioned in Homestead. They're all thinking points. They all want to finish. They want to get some points. So they're willing to race, but they want to keep a little bit in hand to make sure they finish that race.
Al Unser Jr. weaves back and forth there, trying to shake Michael out of his draft.
A little bit and protect his position somewhat, but as you can see, he pulls it out a little bit there. And these guys are going to be racing all day long till the flag.
Michael catches him at the end of the straightaway under braking. Now we'll see if that doesn't just elongate. It does, as the Mercedes power pulls Al Unser Jr. away, Jack.
Well, Paul, consider this fact when you look at Michael Andretti's performance so far. During that last pit stop, the tires on the car were so good, the team elected to keep them on.
Wow. On a track that Danny has said is rough, and yet they're going to keep him on. Tells you something about the tires. Michael Andretti, of course, Ford Cosworth powered there as he battles with the Mercedes of Al Unser Jr. 69 laps done. And suddenly the leader of the race, DeFerrin, slows going into turn 1. Everybody goes past him. He has his hand in the air. He has a problem. Now, it was just 39 laps since his last stop. So is it mechanical? Is it fuel? Whatever it is, it sent Ribeiro around him and into the lead.
I'll tell you who's loving this the most right now is Greg Moore, because when these guys are battling back there like this, you see he's just gradually pulling out a little bit of space every time. The more they're fighting over him, the bigger advantage it gives him.
But of course, he has traffic that he has to be concerned with. And he's beginning to close down on some of it. Boy, look at him back and forth. Whoa!
Well, that weaving, if you like, or you see him snaking down there, they're just trying to protect their position and trying to break the toe a little bit so those guys don't get up underneath them under braking.
Hunter Jr. up on Bozell. Inside Bozell. Bozell makes one move. Hunter Jr. has to move behind.
Oh, Bozell locks it up. Locks it up, gets up there high in the gray. He was trying to keep him behind him. He was fighting for that spot, and consequently, he loses 3 or 4 spots.
So Unser Jr. puts the pressure on. Bozell reacts to it. Gets it high in 1. Jr. goes past. Here it is again, Danny.
Yeah, you see they're coming down. Al's just on the inside. Bozell knows he's got to go in there. He's already moved one time. And see that bumping? He just gets the brake locked up on the front, and he can't make that turn. Don't forget, they're going from over 200 miles an hour, probably 205 miles an hour, down to 100 to try to get through that corner.
So Unser Jr. moves into the top 5. There's the leader. Rookie Greg Moore was spectacular last year in Indy Lights. Andre Ribeiro trying to chase him down. Marco Greco, who was involved in that very brief confrontation that took out Paul Tracy, is back on the track and at speed now. So the action continues, 111 laps down. We take a look at how the different manufacturers of the engines are doing, with Mercedes in front, then Honda, then 2 Ford Cosworths, and another Mercedes. Well, that's a battle. Remember at the start of the show, Honda was such a dominant power, but the other part of the formula is that the tactics have played into this fight so very much.
And let me tell you, these guys are out there, they are frustrated because they can't get a big advantage. But in the end, they're having such a great time racing, because this is what it's all about. They're racing the best in the world, and they're pitting their skills against the other guy, and it's just tit for tat, and they're just battling, and in the end, they're going to have another photo finish like we did at Homestead.
And you know what? You make a pretty good spectator up here yourself.
Well, this is exciting. I've been in that position before, and it is just great racing.
Moore out by 1.2 seconds over Ribeiro. We're watching the battle for third. Gordon, Pruitt, Unser Jr., and Rahal. Pruitt trying to close down on Robbie. Unser Jr. right there. There's Rahal. All 4 of them right together. The leader, as he comes moving inside of Jimmy Vasser. Remember, Vasser came into this race as the points leader. Look at this, though. Show you how fast Greg Moore is going, how close he's been to the wall all day.
Boom,
how's that for close?
Just he left that tire.
And it may have ended it for him.
Yeah, he's slowing down.
Moore slows. Ribeiro takes the lead.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
A mistake of inches grabs a race away.
And he's obviously knocked something way out of a line with that. When you put that big a black mark on there, he obviously did something to the suspension. He could have broken a wheel, but, and listen to that crowd. Guess who's in the lead?
They've got a Brazilian in front, and they're loving it. Andre Ribeiro is in first. This is now a battle for second. Greg Moore continues to slow. He's out of the action. The crew, I don't think they can believe it. But this brings out a yellow. Moore cannot make it all the way around to his pit, and that's going to close the whole thing up. Oh, boy, are we going to see a finish.
And guess what it's going to do to that pack? It's going to move them right up behind Ribeiro.
So with 116 of the 133 complete, the yellow comes out for the leader of the race, Moore. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, the crew down here, disconsolate, heading in different directions, wondering if their man will be in here or not. Jerry Forsyth just threw his stopwatch down on the concrete here. The rest of the crew just so emotional because they have a monitor. They saw the replay of the incident, and now we see on one of the world feeds down here his car cruising to a stop. Such bitter disappointment. He had a tough run at Homestead in the season opener. He battled from a stop-and-go penalty back into the top 10. And as he came into this one leading in traffic, he got that rear wheel up against the wall, and it ends up costing him another brilliant run. But remember, he's only 20 years old. He's a rookie. He's going to be a star.
He was coming up behind Jimmy Vasser, who was a lap down in 13th place at the time. So that gives the lead of the race over to Andre Ribeiro, a Brazilian, in front of his home country crowd. Still under this caution period, 119 laps of 133 complete. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, we're with the head man, so to speak, of IndyCar racing, Andrew Craig. And Andrew, we've got a Brazilian in the lead in a Brazilian race. What is this all about IndyCar and going to foreign venues?
What we're trying to do here is take a very, very good, very successful American product and take it overseas and keep our American character, but we remain a North American race series. So what we're doing is we're going abroad, we're showcasing what we do, which is very good, and has very attractive characteristics, bringing fans to our sport.
Well, another driver that is not from the United States of America, but a little bit north of the border, it looked like he was going to win the race. We're going to check in on the condition of Greg Moore.
Well, here's Greg with us, Jack. Greg, we saw the contact on the replay with the wheel against the wall, but that wasn't what put you out of the race, I understand.
No, not at all. The car was perfect after that. I mean, the car has been great all day. Followed Alex around for a while, but you know, I think that we had this race under the in the bag, but you know, something happened in the motor, it broke, and I just don't know what it is yet, but we'll find out soon. And you know, I guess we'll go to Australia. We've had 2 really good races in a row, and I think we'll have another one in Australia.
Well, moral victories only go so far. How much does this hurt your psyche right now?
It doesn't hurt my psyche. It very much disappoints me and the team. I mean, they didn't win last year with Forsyth Racing, and you know, players won a lot of races, and I think that we can win some for them this year, but I guess not this one.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Paul?
I don't think he has any idea how great those 2 races were for him. They're getting ready to come back to green flag. It is Ribeiro, followed by Gordon, followed by Unser Jr., and yes, you're right, Honda, followed by Ford Cosworth, followed by Mercedes-Benz. Fascinating little battle here at the front of the field. When they come back, should be a sprint to the finish. The crews are done. It's now up to the guy in the cockpit.
And let's not forget, we got some Firestone, some Goodyears tossed in there. We got some great combination. And here we're about ready to go. We're going to see a great race.
Ribeiro brings the field back. He, of course, sitting on Firestone tires. Robbie Gordon right behind him. And boy, he got it totally sideways coming back.
Yes, but it's not bad. Don't forget, you can't get quite the temperature in the tires as you can when you're racing. But look at Al Jr.
Unser Jr. fighting for second place down inside of Robbie Gordon. Hasn't been the faster line, isn't this time.
But Robbie wasn't about to get that up. Not with this little time to go in the race, this few laps.
Rahal moving on Unser Jr. now. Rahal tries to get him to the outside, moves outside again. The same time, Pruitt comes up inside of Rahal. Top 5 all right together.
You know, with all this great racing, you know what it's doing? It's letting Andre Ribeiro head off into the sunset. Look at the gap he's already got. Those guys are going to fight over each other, and they're going to lose touch with Ribeiro.
Another pass down the front straight for Ribeiro to the cheers of the crowd here. Unser Jr. tries to get second. Rahal tries to take it with Pruitt. Pruitt's around. So Scott Pruitt into 4th. Tire comparison there?
I don't really know at this stage of the race, you know, what they've got on, if they got a few more laps on it. I think right now we're just seeing all great racing, good handling cars, good tires. Everybody's just like we were at Homestead. At the end of the race, it's all coming down to what's being done on the track.
Andre Ribeiro pulling further and further away, leads by 2.3 seconds. The crowd loving it. But look at this battle here. Whoa, Pruitt moves to the inside. Rahal tries to battle with him, get the position back.
And that inside line, if you can hold it, is still better. Look, Bobby went to the outside, and Christian Fittipaldi's just gotten by him.
In 6th place, Christian was coming onto the straight, but now Christian, who remember started all the way in the back, as he charges up through the field through the entire race, and now is battling for the top 5. 123 laps complete, 10 to go. We'll be with you all the way to the checkered flag.
And Christian, who's come back, look at him. He's right up underneath Robbie Gordon, his teammate from last year.
Robbie Gordon locks the brakes. Can he leave it? No, he hits the wall.
Robbie hit the wall. Oh.
Down in turn 1. Robbie Gordon, we've seen a lot of guys lock the brake there. This one was a little more expensive. So back under yellow again, the 10th of the day.
Oh, he's got to be so disappointed. He's in there fighting for a spot.
There's Derek Walker, his car owner. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Derek Walker talking with part of his crew, his wife, the rest of the team watching a monitor here. We get a replay, and we watch them watch a replay, trying to determine what may have happened, but just in all that tremendous battle and all the traffic, the slightest contact can sometimes be disastrous, and what it turned out to be some brilliant strategy by Derek Walker and his team has just gone down the drain for this afternoon.
Oh, that is so frustrating. And what he was really trying to do was hold off. He lost a spot. He's fighting to get back. You see the car bouncing there. Right there, it just comes a little bit, takes the contact from the wheel off the ground just a little bit, locks it up. Once he gets out in that gray, there's nothing he can do. He's just a passenger.
That right front wheel came right over the top. Fortunately, it doesn't look like it. Watch this wheel as he gets into the wall. Robbie knows he's in the wall now. See that wheel just kind of roll right over the top. Some debris marks on Robbie's helmet. Look, he's okay. Look at that. Is this guy great?
He's a racer, and you know what? At the end of the race, when you're out there fighting for position and you're racing like that, sometimes things like that happen. You just got to go for it.
125 laps complete. We are under yellow, 8 laps to go. They're going to try to get Robbie Gordon's car off the track as quickly as they can. Obviously, he looks okay. Look at the Brazilian. That's, by the way they watch the whole race standing up.
We are going to see a great restart here because there's a lot at stake, a lot of positions, and we're probably only going to get about 4, maybe 5 laps of racing, of green racing.
It'll be Ribeiro, Unser Jr., Scott Pruitt. 3 different power plants up at the front. Ribeiro, the Honda. Unser Jr., the Mercedes. Scott Pruitt, Ford Cosworth. Gary?
Derek Walker has walked around and congratulated all the members of the team, and I know this is bitterly disappointing. Some great strategy put you right in the thick of this thing, and it was very, very exciting. Your emotions right now, Derek?
Well, obviously feel bad for Robbie because he's driving his socks off out there, but it was full marks to the team. It was a great team effort today, and we'll be back again in Australia and try and pick up from where we left off, but we had a good race, so that's it for today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Derek Walker, 2 cars heavily damaged this weekend. Scott Goodyear during the practice and hospitalized. And of course Robbie Gordon's just now. Well, we were hoping to go all the way to the green flag without interruption, but 126 laps complete. Like Danny says, maybe about 4-lap run to the finish under green. All right, here's the situation. You look at the way they're lined up. That's it right there. That's the battle. 5 to go right now. Ribeiro will lead. Al Unser Jr. is right there and ready to charge, as is Scott Pruitt, Christian Fittipaldi, and Bobby Rahal. All right together. Green is already flying at the start-finish line. Top 4 together. Remember that red car, Christian Fittipaldi, moved from the last row to the position he's in now. But look at the Honda power. Ribeiro, of course, has the advantage of pacing them back. He knows when he's going to accelerate. That gives him an advantage. Pruitt beginning to challenge on Unser Jr. Pruitt moves to the outside of Unser Jr. Nope.
I think Andre White might have one other thing going for him, too. He's Brazilian. He's in front of his home crowd, and his adrenaline is going crazy right now. He's going to drive 5 of the fastest laps you've ever seen. And listen to that crowd when they come by here.
Ribeiro continues to pull away. 130 laps complete, 3 to go. There's Ribeiro. Pruitt trying to close on Unser Jr. Then ZANARDI, then Fittipaldi. ZANARDI, the pole sitter, the early leader.
He looks like he wants to make a move on Scott.
I tell you what, he looks racy. He challenged Fittipaldi quite handily.
All right.
Herta just came in. Boy, look at this guy, ZANARDI. Tries to get down on the inside. Heavy, heavy braking. He saved something for the end here. ZANARDI, then Fittipaldi, then Ray Hall in 6th. Back to 2nd place. Again, look at ZANARDI.
I want to be in the...
Look at that crowd. Cheering Andre Ribeiro on. 130 laps of 133 complete.
Let me tell you, if I was in this race, I want to be right where Andre Ribeiro is right now. Way out in front, no battle, I'm clean. Nobody's around me, nobody's challenging me, and I'm out there. All I've got to do is drive a good line. I don't have to worry about traffic. Everything's going my way. Little Al, on the other hand, he's got his hands full.
Saw the white flag last time by, Andre Ribeiro. He makes his final circuit here. The Brazilians are loving every second of it. On to the front straight. He won at Loudon last year on an oval. And he does it again. Andre Ribeiro, they're throwing their hats in the air. They're going crazy. Al Unser Jr. finishes in 2nd. Scott Pruitt in 3rd. ZANARDI 4th. Christian Fittipaldi 5th. Look at this. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. We said right at the start, they do like their racing here in Brazil. And Rio now salutes the victory of Andre Ribeiro, his 2nd IndyCar victory at this brand new oval and this brand new circuit for IndyCar. Andre Ribeiro takes the win of the first Rio 400. All right, so Andre Ribeiro takes the win. Let's go to Jack.
And getting the congratulations in what has turned out to be pandemonium in an all-Brazilian victory lane. Andre, congratulations, winning in front of your home country.
This is unbelievable. This is great. Look at the people, they are crazy. And I think I'm even more crazy than them. So this is fantastic.
When you talked about coming to Brazil and running this race, did you ever dream that you would find your way to victory lane?
Well, the first dream was to race here. And now to win is much more than a dream.
What about the emotional content? Because, you know, it's one thing to win a race the way you did last year, but now to win right here in your home country, be able to speak your Portuguese language and to wish these fans congratulations?
Well, this is fantastic. It's so good to see those people happy.
You got to be pretty happy.
This is great. This is great.
Gary?
Al, this was a vintage Unser drive, as good as we've seen you work in some time, from 12th back in mid-pack. And you had your hands full. It seemed like you were in a fight all day long. You've got to be, 1, exhausted, but maybe 2, elated.
Well, I just, you know, we worked really hard today, and the Marlboro car ran really super today. And, yeah, it's just one of those things that we're just slow down the straightaway. And, you know, I jumped Ribeiro on a restart a couple times before the last one. And he went by me down the straightaway so fast it wasn't even funny. And so, you know, I just tried to just make a run on him, and I knew I couldn't run with him there at the end, so I was just trying to protect my spot, and that was that. You know, I'm really proud of my guys. They did a super job, and I want to say hi to Al, Cody, and Shannon at home.
All right, here's a happy man in 2nd place. He was down on horsepower, but he's on the podium, Paul.
And boy, he looks exhausted. Here are the unofficial results. 3 different engines at the top of the order, Honda, Mercedes, and Ford, and 3 different nationalities in the top 5, 2 Brazilians, 2 Americans, and 1 Italian. The entire unofficial result, so there doesn't seem to be a challenge to this order whatsoever. Special considerations, Mark Blundell, who was injured, small fracture to his right foot, and in practice, of course, Scott Goodyear. Scott Pruitt takes the lead in the points fight right now, and he's with Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, he just missed the podium in the season opener at Miami, but Scott Pruitt, another sensational last lap battle, and this time it gets you on the podium.
That's right. First, I want to say hi to everybody at home in the States. And second, you know, the Patrick guys did a great job all week long. You know, we really struggled at times. And even all race, I mean, it was close quarters, side by side, good hard racing. You know, you can't ask for anything better than that. I mean, we saw all the fans, they're on their feet the whole time, and it was unbelievable.
And it's going to jump him up very close to the top in the point standings, Paul.
Absolutely on the top. Here are the final facts. Josef Newgarden ran the fastest lap of the race. Biggest move, hey, they happened all day. Sullivan's star goes to Al Unser Jr. for his move through the field and the margin of victory at 2.14 seconds. And the defining moment, well, we actually saw it a couple of different times. It goes to Andre Ribeiro as he just pulled easily away from any of the competition. You can see it right there. So, Danny, we've had our first race in Rio. They're talking about a 500-kilometer in the future and renewing the old Triple Crown. Seems like a track that produces good racing.
This was a track that had great racing. We saw racing throughout the field all day long. And as I said, my star is Al Jr. 2 races. He's looking poised for another championship.
So congratulations to Tasman Motorsports, Steve and Christine Horn, the owners, who celebrate their anniversary today, and a win for this man, Brazilian Andre Ribeiro.